So now the Biden administration saying it will review a new report from the World Health Organization that likely rules out the possibility that COVID started in a Wuhan, China laboratory. Republican Senator Ted Cruz, member of the House Senate Judiciary Committee, with us now. Senator, good morning to you. Thank you for your time.
Morning.
Well, we got a lot to go to, so let's get to it first. What do you make of the World Health Organization and these conclusions that are likely to say, didn't it come from a lab?
Well, listen, I think the report is shameful. During the past year, the WHO has come under understandable and virtually universal criticism because as the coronavirus pandemic began in Wuhan, China, the WHO, instead of stepping in as medical professionals, instead of acting quickly to stop this pandemic, instead they just echoed the lies from the Chinese Communist government. In December, just over a year ago, the Chinese Communist government, when the outbreak was beginning, they arrested whistleblowers, they arrested physicians, they silenced them, they did everything they could to hide the outbreak, and the WHO helped them. It echoed their own lies. In fact, the WHO a year ago was telling the world that there is no human-to-human transmission of COVID-19 during the outbreak. That was the lie that came from China, and the WHO echoed it. Now, for the past year, the United States had withdrawn from the WHO. Joe Biden said, let's get back in. And the very first thing the WHO does is jump out and say, Communist China is right. And in particular, they say there's no chance the virus escaped from a lab. Now you need to understand, this outbreak began in Wuhan, China. In Wuhan, China, there are two labs, one within literally 400 yards of where the outbreak occurred. Both of those labs were not only studying viruses, they were studying coronaviruses from bats. And the State Department, more than a year earlier, had commented on the poor security protocols at those viruses, had said in writing that there was a risk of a global pandemic originating from those government labs because they did such a poor job securing the viruses. There's never been a thorough, credible, impartial third-party investigation into it. The Chinese government immediately went into panic mode to hide this, and the WHO today said, well, we know that it didn't escape from the government labs. Why? Because the Chinese Communist government told us. It really is ridiculous. And I got to say, look, I'd like to see a well-functioning World Health Organization that is not simply a mouthpiece for the Chinese communists. That their report today does not give me or really anyone else any confidence that that's what they're going to be.
Wow.
Senator, I know that we've got impeachment happening today. Yesterday is behind us. Tell us what you expect to hear going forward in today's argument.
Well, I think we'll see that the trial continue for the rest of the week. It is reminiscent of Shakespeare, that it is full of sound and fury and yet signifying nothing. I think you're going to see a lot of partisan table pounding. You're going to see a lot of efforts to pull on emotion. We saw the beginning of that with the Hollywood video that the House managers began with. I think we'll see a lot more of that today and tomorrow. And at the end of the day, it's not going to succeed. President Trump is going to be acquitted. In order to convict him, it takes 67 votes. They're not 67 votes. Every senator knows that. The House managers know that. Everybody knows that. But they're going through political theater, and they're going through political theater because for 4 years, congressional Democrats, they've been obsessed. They've been consumed with hatred for President Trump. And it really defines who the Democratic Party is. So they've got a new Democratic president, a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, and instead of working on the very real problems we have in this country, we have tens of millions of Americans out of work. We have millions of kids who are not going to school, and yet the Democrats are not trying to fix those problems. Instead, they want to go through a circus of an impeachment trial that they know is doomed to failure. I think it's a mistake, but unfortunately, it's the path that congressional Democrats have put us on.
While that is happening, however, there are other matters that are progressing, literally. Tandon's going to have a big job. She's the budget pick, and she had a hearing yesterday, and apparently she deleted hundreds, if not thousands, I think, of her tweets, mostly going after Republicans. This Senator Rob Portman setting up the question during that hearing yesterday.
You wrote that Susan Collins is, quote, the worst, that Tom Cotton is a fraud, that vampires have more heart than Ted Cruz. How do you plan to mend fences and build relationships with members of Congress you have attacked
I recognize the concern. I deeply regret and apologize for my language and some of my past language.
Well, so we all good now, Senator?
Never tweet.
Well, listen, I'm not concerned about the tweet. She's welcome to say what she wants. Rob went on to say that she has apparently 9 pages of tweets all about me. I'm assuming not saying things nice about me, apparently not saying things nice about vampires either. I got to admit, I don't think I've ever read any of her 9 pages of tweets. So you know, listen, she's a Democratic partisan. Democratic partisans have lost their minds the last 4 years. We don't have the ability to work together and solve problems because so long as the Democratic Party is defined by hatred and anger and extremism, we're going to be more and more polarized.
Senator, aside from the tweets, do you think she's qualified for the job she's seeking?
You know, I don't know. I haven't met with her. I'm certainly happy to meet with her when I'm not on the committee that's considering her nomination, but when the nomination comes to the floor, I'll consider it on the merits. I will say the pattern of nominees we've seen so far from the Biden administration has been concerning. Many of them, I think, have been extreme partisans. And there has been a pattern. I'm not aware of anything in Ms. Tandon's background, but there's been a pattern of a number of nominees, in particular, of being soft on China, the foreign policy and national security nominees. And so I'll look at the nomination carefully on the merits. And I wish, you know, it's interesting. Joe Biden has very moderate rhetoric. He sounds soothing. He sounds middle of the road.
Yeah.
But then you look at the policies of the Biden administration, they're not moderate.
They're
extreme and radical.
Commercial breaks. We're going to talk about it today. Senator Ted Cruz, thank you.
Thank you. Come back.
Thank you.